Hi everyone, Mick Levinskas here from She's Building a Robot, and I'm very, very, very excited to, after one attempts and multiple computer rejigs, chatting to Nicky. Hey Nicky, how you doing?
Hey, fantastic.
Let's start by telling us what was your very, very first major interaction with technology, and what was the instigator?
You ask that like it's an easy question, but it's never an easy answer. So I've always been surrounded by technology and interested in technology, and that in and of itself turned out insufficient to necessarily propel me into a career in technology directly. We had a computer at home, which I loved. I was devastated as a little kid when we got a new computer and suddenly my games didn't work because they weren't, the clock speed on the computer was changed, and I just want to play Pac-Man more.
What computer was it? Was it like
I have no idea.
Like an IBM PC, an IBM compatible?
I knew that I wasn't really allowed to open it up and poke around in there.
Okay.
And that was. I guess that's part of the challenge of encouraging kids into computer science, that you want them to tinker and break things, but maybe not the things that are too expensive.
Yeah. I think
it took me quite a while.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. So it took me quite a while from there to actually get into technology and get into computer science. I really liked computing at school, but we didn't have a computing subject to do. So then when I thought about doing it at university, I thought that ship had sailed, that I'd missed the boat, that so it actually took me doing a complete undergraduate degree in linguistics and languages, which I also loved, and then thinking, hey, maybe I should, now I've got an arts degree, maybe I should do something that will get me a job.
Okay.
And I thought, let's give this computer science thing a go.
Okay.
The bargaining that I did was, if I fail everything, I just won't tell anyone. I won't put it on my CV. I'll say I was traveling.
Right.
And no one has to know.
Wow.
So I enrolled in a course and I didn't fail anything, as it turns out. It was really hard, but it was also really awesome and challenging and fun. And I kept going from there.
Fantastic. And do you think the linguistics helped you on the computer side?
It helped me in that it gave me a good motivation.
Okay.
So there's a lot of discussion about whether coding is a language. I know some states in the US are now treating it as a language for various curriculum requirements as a way of sneaking it in. I think it's certainly part that having a good language background is useful for computer science, but so is maths, so is creativity, so is everything. Whatever you bring to computer science, or more particularly whatever you can combine with computer science, will allow you to excel in whatever field you want.
Okay.
For me, I ended up following a research path in computational linguistics. So things like spelling correction, automatic translation, really fun, really hard stuff. And having that background in linguistics and then saying, how can I get a computer to actually do this for us, was really awesome. So that's what my PhD is in, what my research is in. But it turns out that the path of one's career is never particularly straight, or at least it certainly isn't for me.
Yeah.
And I got a little sidetracked while doing the PhD by what I often refer to as the most powerful force in the universe, procrastination.
Not compound interest?
So, yes. Ended up doing a bunch of outreach programs and getting involved in teaching computer science, which is also pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm still a pedant. My love of languages and linguistics has never gone away.
Oh, great. And tell us about the path between there and what you're doing now.
So, well, to a certain extent, I had this fantastic experience in undergraduate, really, really awesome subjects where I felt included and normal, and then I ended up in these computer science subjects and I'm like, hey, hang on, why am I the only woman in this lecture theatre? this is a bit weird. Maybe the reasons that I didn't feel confident enough to do computer science straight away as a first year are also holding a bunch of other people back, a bunch of other women back.
Yep.
So a group of us started up the Girls Programming Network. We run free workshops for primary and high school girls, giving them the sort of experience that I would have loved as a school kid, and just enough to know what they're getting into if they choose to pursue a computer science degree, or even just throw a couple of electives in there. Sure. And also, more particularly, the chance that they can come into the undergraduate labs at Sydney Uni, where I work now, and have that full of 200 other girls and women all excited about computer science and geeking out. That sort of social acceptance and encouragement is paramount to success. So we started that. I got involved in the National Computer Science School. We run these resources. We write these resources and run competitions to help support teachers teaching computer science in school classrooms. And that's fantastic because I happen to, both my parents are ex-teachers. I come from a long line of teachers and educators. So being able to help teachers in a really scalable way is really nice. But when they came to me and said, "This is great what you're doing, but we want more," I'm not very good at saying no to good ideas.
Okay.
So we accidentally founded a startup. So we started a company called Grok Learning, and we teach computer science, supporting teachers in the classroom, supporting people who want to learn independently, work with other universities, and basically help teach what is really quite a hard thing to learn. It certainly was in my experience, certainly still is in my experience, in a fun and real and engaging way. We talk about authentic experiences in computer science.
Wow.
So now I just try and do all of those things once still, and yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
And what's the hardest thing about your job, and what's the thing you love the most?
The hardest thing is that I have too many ideas and too many suggestions that are fantastic ideas, and I just don't have time to do them all. So at the moment I'm writing a data science course, which I love. It's so cool. Trying to figure out how to teach Matplotlib to kids in year 7 in an accessible way is fantastic and awesome and tricky. But I also have this backlog of things that I want to do, like a poetry slam competition with generated poetry for kids to make, improve our resources so that they're more accessible for kids with low literacy, or there are so many awesome things to do, not to mention all of that research and the PhD and the computational linguistics. And I'm like, ooh, I had an idea, but I just don't have time to do it. But realistically, that's a fantastic problem to have. So I really can't complain.
Awesome.
The best thing that's been happening in more recent years is that these fantastic young women, kids from across Australia, internationally actually, have recognized me from the Grok Learning resources. University students have come up and said, "You're the reason, Grok is the reason that I got into computer science." And if you can't get more warm and fuzzy than that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm really hoping one day I'll have that moment where someone read She's Building a Robot and was like, "Oh, that was my book I read and got me into robotics or something." So
it'll happen, I'm sure.
I think I'm 5 years away, but we'll see. That's really, really good that you have that as something you really enjoy, and I hope that it continues to scale as your ideas continue to scale out. And given the increased amount of resources and different paths and things, if there's a young woman teenage woman who's thinking about technology and curious, what is your advice for them in terms of maybe first steps or things they can think about in terms of an approach?
Yeah, I guess my overarching advice is, don't let your own lack of confidence delay or prohibit you from doing something that you think you might like. Computer science is hard. A lot of things are hard. Learning French is hard. learning to tie your shoelaces is hard, but it turns out you've had a lot of practice at that.
That's right.
Computer science unlocks the most amazing array of opportunities. So whether you're interested in marine biology or like art, curing cancer, global warming, it really doesn't matter what you're interested in. There's a way that you can use computer science to improve or find something that's important within that thing that you love and fix it. And the scalability of the solutions that you have. Like if you were really interested in saving babies, here we go. I love this one. You want to save babies, go and become a pediatrician. You'll be able to save babies. It'll be fantastic. In your career, you might save 1,000 babies, and that makes a big difference. If you combine that medical knowledge with a whole bunch of computer science and become a bioinformatician, you could potentially, rather than saving thousands of babies, save millions of babies.
Yeah.
And that is really, really powerful thing.
Had a small pause there, but awesome. That is a great bit of advice, and definitely I think the thing around confidence and that it's hard, but don't delay it. Just try it and get started, and I think
keep trying. Keep trying. The thing with computer science, learning computer science, you will get stuck. There will be times when you're looking at a program, and I mean, there are times when I look at programs and I can't figure out how to debug it, and I try all the techniques. You get a little rubber ducky, and you walk through the line explaining all of the code to the rubber ducky, and it doesn't work. And then you pull someone else over, and you're like, can you walk? I'll walk you through this. And you're about, you're in tears. You're going to throw the laptop out the window, leave it, come back. But eventually, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Eventually, it will work. And then there's like high fives all around, and you just feel like you're awesome. You're awesome. And it doesn't matter whether that question, whether that thing you're trying to solve is literally displaying words to the screen or figuring out some machine learning algorithm to produce a thing. It's always going to be hard because as you're learning new things, they're new. It's tricky. But the cool thing about computer science is that there are millions of geeks out there who want to help you.
That's awesome. I remember a mentor of mine, I was sort of saying, he was asking me, like, what are my goals? And it's like, with a project, I just want to make sure I, achieve my potential. And he said, I really hate to tell you, Mick, but you will never achieve your potential. And I was like, wow, what a really motivating mentor, never going to achieve my potential. And I said, why do you say that? And he said, because as you approach your potential expands. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to spend the rest of my life, part of me is going to be in yearning, because as you get better, the things you do get bigger and better. And you're like, wow. And then I'm so excited about how good I'm going to be in 2 years' time, because then 2 years ahead of that is just going to be ridiculously amazing. But that's the opposite of the procrastination is the compound interest, which is if you keep working on things, you get better and better, and you're like, oh my goodness, you just can't imagine that you can do the things you are doing. You couldn't have imagined you could do them. So
it's really important. It's especially important when I'm working with students that they, especially when they're just starting, when they're struggling with that next thing, that whatever it is that's hard, that they remember to turn around and look at the path that they're doing, and that thing that they can do really easily, that a week, a month, a year ago they felt they had no hope of ever achieving. It's really tricky, especially in tech, to get caught up with what you don't know, because all it takes is for someone to throw in an acronym that you don't understand, that makes you reconsider. Maybe I don't belong here. Maybe I don't understand this whole thing. Turns out the person who said that acronym may also not understand really what it is.
Totally.
But it's so easy to be hard on yourself and not acknowledge and celebrate how far you've come and what you've learned. And I should say also, I don't feel that every student should become a programmer. I don't think that we need a generation of coders. But what I really want is for every student, every kid, every adult, everyone to have a good understanding of what computer science can do, of how they can use data to get information, and what those possibilities are. At the moment, we're not giving everyone a fair understanding of what their opportunities are. And I think in order to make a real judgment about what you want to do and what you can do, you have to have an authentic, genuine experience with computer science. It turns out that a lot of the stuff that we learn at school isn't really accurate in terms of careers. You learn about trigonometry and calculus in maths, but most people who are mathematicians don't spend their time, differentiating.
That's right.
So I'm really passionate about making sure that kids get a good understanding of how they can use computing, how they can use data in cybersecurity, careers in cybersecurity. What does that actually look like? What can I do there?
Yep.
Astroinformatics. Hey, this is really awesome. If I'm interested in the universe and trying to unlock what it is and what its secrets are, turns out you'll be using a whole bunch of data. The time to learn that is not a year into your PhD when you realize, actually, I have to run a whole bunch of simulations and I don't know how to code. It's not impossible, but it is a lot harder to learn it then than starting early.
Yeah, exactly. And appreciation and respect for it, I think, is really, really important. So I totally agree. And thank you for all your work you've done, both in terms of creating that content and sharing it around and being a really positive role model. It's not an easy thing to do. I think there's a lot of things still really, really challenging in tech generally, but especially I think still for women. Unfortunately, I think it's a generational thing, and I hope that for my daughters and for the next generation that it is significantly better, and that there is a lot more women in those computer science classes.
I hope so, and I think so. And I should say that while I would much prefer if the class that I was in was a representative sampling of the population, I also, it is what makes you special to your advantage. So when I go and pitch, turns out many events I'm the only woman pitching, they will all remember me. So I can go and use that to my advantage, and I do, and I should. There are so many really important reasons that we need good representation in technology. Silly things like Apple releasing its health tracker without a way to track periods. It's not like 50% of your population really that's the one thing they want to track. There are heart replacements that don't fit in women's chest cavities.
Right.
Seatbelt laws, seatbelt testing laws, car testing laws, until I think 2012 didn't require female-sized crash test dummies. We need to make sure, and don't even get me started on big data and AI and the issues of representation and encoded bias in that data. We need to make sure that the people who are making technology and designing and developing the future are making sensible decisions for all of humanity, and bringing their own rich experiences to the table. And that's something that's amazingly awesome, and that I feel really privileged to be able to try and help achieve. Also, learning computer science is fun. Teaching computer science is awesome. I'm happy to get up and do it every day. Yeah.
Well, it certainly doesn't sound like you're in a job you're struggling to enjoy. And I think that your point goes to my philosophy, which is impatience for action, but patience for results. I think there's a lot of work to be done, and I think there are a lot of good things happening and a lot of things going in the right direction. I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's fast enough. and in some things, just because they are very cultural, are going to take longer. That doesn't mean we should not do it. That doesn't mean it's not worth it. So again, thank you so much for all of your hard work and your inspiration. I hope there's another 1,000 young women who, maybe 1 million, who come and say you were positive influence on them.
Can I give one plug for any kids who are excited about maybe learning computer science, or adults who want to point them in the right way? So obviously my startup teaches computer science, Grok Learning, but we've also released a whole bunch of free and Creative Commons resources, partly on the ACA website, which is one of the projects, aca.edu.au. But otherwise, ping me on Twitter, Nicky Ringland, and I will point you in the right direction to a bunch of awesome free stuff to get going.
Well, in the YouTube comments and also on the blog post, I will include all of those links to Twitter and those two programs. And thank you again from the massive team at She's Building a Robot. That hopefully we're about to get a publisher and get that out before the end of the year. And it's 2019 for those who are watching this as an archive in the year 2119. And because of this, of course, going to be a famous landmark video that goes out. So, Nicky, thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks for having me.
And for supporting it. And we will see you on the interweb soon.
My absolute pleasure.